Welcome to the Menopause Conversations podcast. My name's Angela Council and I am your host for this podcast, and this is where you learn all about menopause, what is happening to your body, to your hormones, and life in general. Everything is changing and sometimes it can seem really confusing, but this is where the confusion stops right now. This podcast will share with you everything you need to know about how you can navigate your menopause transition with ease. So sit back and enjoy the show. Bye for now. Hello, it is Angela here and I'm back for this week's episode of Menopause Conversations. Now, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you some recordings that I've already done on menopause, what menopause is, the different phases of menopause, the different hormones, how they impact us, what they do, and all of that. So it's a whole pile of educational videos that I've created over the last 12 months or so, and I'm going to share them here on the podcast. So you'll see them dropped in every couple of episodes. I'll cover just another aspect of what's going on with your hormones and your health as you're moving through menopause. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that you can get a better understanding of what's happening to your body as your body goes through these changes, because I believe that when you know what's going on and you understand it, you can accept or embrace the changes that are happening. So enjoy this one. This week's episode is all about the different phases of menopause. People kind of see menopause as a single event. It's not, it's a transition. And I'm going to explain the different phases and, approximate times when they happen in a woman's life. But really important to know that every woman is different. And just because you get to a certain age doesn't mean this is the phase that you're in. Some, the guidelines that I give you with the ages are relatively common. What is normal is what's normal for you, but listen and see where you think what phase of menopause, what stage of the menopause transition you might be in, because that'll give you some clues as we go forward to which one of the hormones you might need to be addressing. So enjoy, and I'll speak to you later. Bye. So today I'm going to have a bit of a chat to you about the different phases of your menopause transition. Now, menopause, and if you've heard me before, it is not a disease. It is a stage of life and it is a transition, and it can start from your late 30s and go until it goes for the rest of your life, but the changing goes until maybe about your mid 50s, and then after that, or your hormones settle down. So hormones are changing up and down quite a bit in this period, and it can go for over 10 years. And in this time, you could be having different symptoms. Now, today I want to talk to you about the 4 different phases of peri-menopause and menopause, so that you've got a better idea of what's going on, and then you might be able to determine where you are. Now, what I'm sharing with you today is based on someone who is coming through a natural menopause. Now, if you're coming through a chemical or medical menopause, things will be different. You will not go through the early stages. You'll generally drop straight into the full-blown menopause. So what I'm going to be talking about is for women who are going through a natural menopause. The 4 phases. There are the very early perimenopause, and this can start in your late 30s. For some women, it starts a little bit earlier, but generally late 30, early 40s is when this happens, and it will last between 2 to 5 years. And the main way you can tell you're in this time is that your cycles can start to shorten. So if they used to be 28, 29 days, maybe they're going to come down to 21, 26 days. Your progesterone levels do start to drop. And because your progesterone levels are dropping and your estrogen levels are remaining high, that can lead to heavier periods, increased period pains, migraines, and sleep problems. Now, I'm going to go into each of the individual hormones in upcoming sessions. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that today. So I'm just going to give you an overview to start with, and each week I'm going to give you more information. So that's phase 1. So that's when we're very early, when hormones are just starting to shift, and progesterone is your first hormone that starts to shift. Then we come into phase 2, and this starts around about your mid-40s and can last up to 5+ years. And this is where your cycle starts to become a little bit more irregular. Maybe you're missing periods. So your cycle might go for, instead of going for 28 days, it might go for 60 days because you've missed periods. The big thing is that cycles become quite irregular. Progesterone is now even lower because you're not ovulating, and when you don't ovulate is when you often don't have a period. So you're not releasing eggs. You've got less eggs, less quality, so your progesterone levels are coming down even lower. But what's happening with your estrogen levels is they're actually going up and down. And it's the up and down of the estrogen that can cause a lot of different symptoms. And this hot flushes is one of them. Joint pain is another one. And this is this fluctuating up and down. And once again, I will be talking about that on another video. Then we get to the late menopause transition. And this is when you're coming very close to the end of your reproductive cycles. You'll be missing even more periods. Cycles will go 60+ days. So it could be 2, 3, 4 months, even longer before you have a bleed. Your hot flushes, night sweats can start to get worse. Breast pain, those should ease because estrogen is starting to come down a little bit more, and it's the fluctuating estrogen that causes breast pain. So it's starting to settle down a little bit, and it's now on a downward trend. You may still have a couple of very, very heavy periods just before the end of all your cycling. And the thing is, you don't know when you get to your last period until after you've passed your last period. So if you're starting to get heavier periods, generally it's an indication that you are getting closer to the end. And then we get to what is known as late peri-menopause. And this is just where you're waiting. So you've had a period and you haven't had any periods for 12 months. So basically it's a waiting game. And 12 months is an arbitrary figure that was created by doctors, more for contraceptive purposes. But as I said, you don't know when your last period is your last period until you have no more. So that's why 12 months is deemed as if you've had no periods in 12 months. You have now actually crossed over and you are in full-blown menopause, or you're in now post-menopausal. So if you see menopause as being the line in the sand beforehand, you still had a reproductive cycle going on, and then afterwards, after that 12 months, now you have nothing. And what's happening then is the hormones have settled down to a lower state. Your body is used to them being at a lower state, and quite often symptoms actually start to ease because now the body's now adjusted to having less progesterone and less estrogen. So it does take the body a little bit of time to adapt to hormones coming down. So once this comes down, then symptoms start to ease off. And that then is the end of your menopause transition. You are now, if you want to use the term post-menopausal, you are menopausal, but you're not going to be bleeding again. And if you do have a bleed after this time, it is important that you get checked out because there could be something else going on. It does occasionally happen that women have a bleed, but it's only a really, really light bleed and there's no real issues with it. But it is important that you just get that checked just in case, because it's not normal to have a bleed after that 12 months. But as I said, every week I'm going to pop in and I'm going to be sharing some of this information just to give you a little bit more information of what's happening with your hormones and what you can do about the symptoms and everything that comes up. Now, the next one I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be talking about progesterone, and that'll be next week. I'll go into progesterone a little bit deeper just to give you an understanding of what progesterone does and how it impacts the way we feel and what happens when that starts to come down. Because a lot of women don't really know too much about progesterone, but it's actually probably more important than estrogen. Everyone kind of gets very focused on the estrogen. Progesterone is even more important, and it has a bigger impact. So we'll be talking about that next week. So what phase of the menopause transition do you think you are in right now? Why not join the menopause conversations Facebook group and come over there and let me know and talk to me, and let's have a bit of a discussion as to the different phases and what you can do to be able to navigate this time of life with ease. Now, wherever you're listening to this, whether or not it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, wherever it is, I'd really love for you to leave me a rating and review. And the reason why is because the more ratings, the more reviews that I get, the more women learn about the work that I'm doing here. I want more women to really understand what is happening with their life as they move through this time of life. I don't want women to struggle. I don't want women to feel like they're alone. So share this with your friends, leave me a rating and review so that more women can get this message and we can all learn how it is possible to navigate the menopause transition with ease. Until next week, bye for now.